All right, so that's 7 p.m. now. We have quite a packed agenda, so we'll make a start. Welcome everyone to the November Corporate and Community Services meeting. I'll start with our statement of acknowledgement. So we'd like to acknowledge that the land that we meet on today is the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. Attendance record, I have one apology from, last minute apology from Deputy Mayor Shanks, who's unable to make it. Is there any motions to grant leave of absence? Nope. And there's no one who's currently on leave of absence. Move to public open forum. I don't believe we have anyone for public open forum tonight. No. In that case, are there any declarations of interest? No declarations of interest. We'll move on now to confirmation of the minutes from the September CCS meeting. Can I please have a mover? Councillor Davies, you're moving that. Seconder, Councillor Hughes. Any discussion? No. All those in favour? Unanimously carried. Moving on. Is there any business arising from the minutes? There being none, we'll move on to item 7, decision reports. The first one is 7.1, Digital Marketing Strategy 2024 to 2026. How would we like to proceed? Councillor Hennessy, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm very happy to move this recommendation. I'll just make a couple of comments. One is I'm very pleased to have the update. I particularly am very pleased that the e-newsletter has got up and going, and I'm sure the rest of my colleagues will have heard back from the community that they find that quite useful, an email. I guess in the days of digital marketing, we have to remind ourselves that we need to push information out to the community, not expect them to come searching for it. Having said that, however, the information given to us about the website update, while it is encouraging and there's an acknowledgement that this will be a priority, there is some statement about it being an awful lot of work. I'd just like to reinforce that for me, I think it has to be a priority over and above many of the other things included in this digital marketing. I noticed my colleague, Councillor Solomon, raised some information about social media accessibility, and I think that's the type of thing that we need to get right immediately. We either have a disability access plan or we don't. We need to ensure that the technology we build and the information we present is available to everyone in our community. So our website really does need to be our first and foremost. If we don't get that right, despite the fact that it is a lot of work, then we are really undermining our marketing campaign. So, but on the strength of that, I thank the officer for the report, and I look forward to further updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor White, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, just echoing Councillor Hennessy's words, I think it's a fantastic strategy, and also, yes, I would like to highlight again the importance of our website and ensuring it's up to scratch. I always think in the digital space, when in the world of so many different platforms, websites and emails are always things that we own, so that if something is taken away off us or an external company is shut down or decides they want to charge something for our usage, we can always revert back to our website and emails. So I think it is important that that is a priority. However, in saying that, a couple of comments I did want to make is definitely the development over the past couple of years with our social media presence has been well noticed and received by the community. In the report, it does talk about increased positive sentiment on social media platforms such as Facebook, and I think it's fantastic what staff are doing, pushing out those good news stories and also engaging with the community, which when there potentially could be a little bit of comments that are in the negative realm, it can easily be fizzled out online by council staff, and that is very much appreciated on our behalf, but also on the community's behalf. So, yeah, I think to the staff in the marketing team, keep up the great work, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing this new strategy put into action.
Thank you, Councillor White. Councillor Koch?
Chair, look, I suppose I've got some concerns about this strategy. The first is when I look on page 21 of 307, it talks about the primarily seeks information on, and it's some pretty run-of-the-mill sort of things there. But then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different platforms to give out basically pretty ordinary information, you know, pretty run-of-the-mill information. I'm just concerned that we're over-egging it, and we've got too many platforms for some reason, one reason or another. And then all of a sudden we have to have these other programs to manage all the platforms to make sure the content is consistent across all the platforms. It's almost like we're creating this giant administrative burden for everybody just to potentially connect with maybe potentially a small amount of people. I am concerned also about the fact that we're using X, which is the old Twitter? And I think, I mean, from what I understand is that when Mr Musk took over it, he sacked all his people that looked after security. And now it's actually a haven for people posting, you know, racist, derogatory comments. And a lot of people are just exiting it, so I'm surprised that we're still there. And also with Threads, which is actually supposed to be, you know, replacing X, that's linked to Instagram. And the issue there is that there's an issue around the privacy of information. And from my understanding, the EU has banned Threads. So we've got two different platforms there, which I think are not the best. And in this report, we talk about we need to be ethical and a whole range of other things. I think having those two they're not ethical. You know, in my opinion, they're not ethical platforms. The next issue I'm concerned about is the after-hours monitoring. I think it talks about in here that the monitoring stops at 4 o'clock on a Friday and starts again on the Monday. So people could actually post things on our websites, on our sites, which could be quite derogatory, it could be defamatory, and we know that the High Court ruling about Dylan Volker actually confirmed that a platform that hosts racist or defamatory comments are actually liable for those comments. So I have concerns if someone's putting up defamatory posts, you know, between 4 o'clock and 9 o'clock on the Monday. That's a concern for me. And the other one is that in there it actually talks about that somebody's going to monitor these platforms over on weekends and holidays. So what's the implications there of actually getting somebody to be at work monitoring these platforms on weekends and holidays? Is there a financial implication, etc., etc.? I'm also concerned about the content, you know, how we actually generate content. You know, we talk about, where is it, page, I think page 30. Okay. Yeah, we take page 30, it starts there about actually producing content. Now, to produce quality content is actually really hard. I mean, I've been involved in publishing for about 20 odd years, and I've got to, you know, and I understand how hard it is to create content, you know, and basically all those things in there is how I work in the publishing area. So I'm just concerned that it's putting a lot of emphasis and pressure on people who may not necessarily be trained in that area to create this wonderful content that is uniformed and everything else, and it you know, falling back on maybe one person to try to monitor it all. So I am a bit concerned that it's almost creating this giant sphere, almost dragging in all these resources just to post some reels or TikTok bits and pieces. So yeah, I am concerned that it's almost getting over-egged, and really the website is great, we need that, emails is great, but then all of a sudden we've got these, 8 other platforms that seems to be just running away, and people are posting and doing a whole lot of stuff there.
Just a quick heads up, you're approaching 5 minutes.
Yep, that's fine. And then all of a sudden we have to get these other programs to monitor these programs and those programs. And I think, in some respects we may be taking people away from their core activities to create a little video that you're going to put on TikTok. So I know that a lot of people like it. I just think, considering we've got a deficit budget, it just seems like it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's just my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kosh. I might quickly ask staff, because I think that making sure we're legally compliant is very important, whether we have any insights about our legal obligation to remove derogatory comments on Facebook.
Through the Chair, yes, we do have a legal obligation. What you see in the strategy is a guideline. However, we do monitor posts 24/7. So there are 3 members of staff who actually all have access to all of our social media channels on their phones and receive notifications if there's anything that gets posted. We do monitor them of a weekend and out of hours. So it is a 24-hour daily process.
Fantastic, thank you. Councillor Kosh, you had a further question?
Just on that comment, what are the resource implications of that? Because we're actually asking staff to actually work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I don't know where we stand with that.
No, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Through the Chair. There is no, there's not a lot out of hours monitoring that we do. We have a certain time period. It's normally around the 7 till 9 of an evening. We try and monitor at that time period, but we're on it straight away if there's anything derogatory that goes up. And we try and limit any posts that we put up that we could potentially be, cause a little bit of angst in the community. We try and limit that to put them up in the morning. So we are available all day to monitor these posts. And if the posts get too much, we have got the right to turn them commenting off, which we have done in the past.
Thank you, Donna. Do you have a question or wishing to speak? I'm just conscious Donna might have to get back up again. A question? Yeah. Oh, it's Councillor Davies.
Just around the website, do you have access to the Google Analytics or equivalent? And is there, because that's where you can find, I guess, what parts of the website are people visiting and sort of using that to guide, the front page and that to make it accessible for people to find what they actually are there to find.
Oh, sorry.
Through the Chair, yes.
Sorry.
We do have Google Analytics, which we do monitor, and that guides us on the main pages that we need to keep our eye on and update on a more regular basis. Google Analytics is great for giving us that information.
Okay, any other questions for Councillor Davies? You had another question? Oh, no, all good. Thank you, Donna. If Councillor Hughes has a question, I'll go there first.
Thanks. Thanks very much for the report. It's really good. Just on that, if we do see a comment that we don't agree with, what's the quickest way to sort of contact you guys then to get response?
My mobile number and Tori's number is fully available, so send us a quick text and we'll take it down immediately. Or alternatively, a phone call. Yeah.
Thank you. Question, Councillor White.
Thanks, Chair. I think I can understand Councillor Kosh's concern about staffing and being available 24/7. I understand. I think that's where you're coming from, Councillor Kosh. Yeah. So I just want to maybe ask through the Chair. Maybe this is to David. Staffing-wise, is that written into a staff's contract that they'd be available? Like, what are the HR arrangements in place if staff are monitoring out of hours?
So through the Chair, I'm one of the people that monitor, and part of my package is to do the job, full stop. In terms of other staff, we do have flexible working arrangements, so Donna and Tori are able to flex in and out. If there's a requirement for them to do extensive amount of work after hours, then they can have time off on another day. There's no financial implication to that, it's time in lieu, for example. But we generally find that, as Donna's mentioned earlier, from about 9 o'clock onwards at night, there's not really much activity on our social media channels, and if there are, you can always send text messages through to either all of us, and I'm on there as well, checking on a regular basis. So from a financial HR implications, it is built within their role statements and position descriptions that they'll actively monitor and participate. But we're not asking anyone to work 7 days a week, 24/7. It's a shared across 3 of us and wider across during the day when we have other staff on deck during the day who are also monitoring various channels.
Thank you. I think we've established all considerations that we have in place for monitoring comments. Councillor Davies?
Yeah, so thanks for the report. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff happening at the moment. Definitely, social media roles in general are do have that out-of-hours component to them, just fundamentally, because people don't stop making comments after working hours. But, you know, as we also saw in the report, like 100% of the councils that they looked at had Facebook pages. Like, this is not we're not doing something quirky or unusual under the council system. This is just one of the main ways to communicate to our residents, and it does come with some issues. Councillor Koch mentioned, you know, privacy issues and all that, and that's across the board. Threads is the same company as Instagram, which is the same company as Facebook, and they all have questionable privacy stuff, you know, and that's sort of the framework that we have to work in if we're to use social media, unfortunately. But I think it is valuable because we are trying to contact different types of people, and that's part of why there are so many platforms on here. Facebook is great. It is the biggest social media platform. For a lot of the younger generations, it is not the social media platform that they use to post. They'll have it for the same reason they have an email or something, because that's how they keep in contact with their relatives, but it's not, you know, it's not their main platform of choice, and a lot of them are in the Instagrams and TikToks and all of these other things. So, you know, if we were to just say, well, let's only focus on the website, the Facebook, there would be a demographic gap on who we're reaching that would be unfortunate. So, you know, there is a lot of splitting. The fact that Twitter is in a nosedive has meant that it's split into several little copycat websites while it's still active itself. And that's just an unfortunate. A lot of social media people at the moment are, you know, are on more platforms than this. We're only doing Twitter and Threads. There's Blue Sky, there's Mastodon, there's all these other places that people have gone on to. But I think it makes sense for us to have Twitter and Threads because Threads operates on people's Instagram accounts, so we sort of have a built-in audience, whereas any other new platform we would have to build up from scratch, which is a lot of effort. But yeah, I think it's a good update. I think the e-newsletters are good, and yeah, I agree that the website is always a priority. There's only so much you can do with a council website in terms of it being easy to navigate while containing loads and loads of information, but there are definitely councils that do it better than others. I've been on council websites that have been very frustrating to do, and to do anything on, you know, so yeah, overall I'll commend this. I'm happy to vote for it.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the item? In that case, Councillor Hennessy, are you happy for me to put the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried. Thank Thank you. Mayor Edmund?
I'd like to move 7.2.
No worries. Yep. Would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. I think the Gawler Tertiary Hub, and thank you to the staff for the report on the pilot program. This hub has been extraordinarily successful. There is an opportunity to apply for grant funding in the new year, and I'd like to read out some feedback from some of the students. I was travelling 30 plus minutes, which has been reduced to 5 minutes. It's conveniently close and easy to access, especially at night. I was travelling either to Roseworthy or to the North Terrace University for Adelaide campus in the city. I also sometimes work from home, but my partner works away, so when he's home, this is difficult. Now I can come to the tertiary hub when I've got work to do while he's home. I think I travelled to McGill Uni SA, which is a 50-minute drive from Gawler. I really love the library because I can focus and can be more productive than what I would be at home. I find it very difficult to study at home. This is why I value the library service so much. So I think the Gawler Tertiary Hub has been extraordinarily successful. I think the officer's recommendation pretty much says it all. We need to advocate to government ministers. When I was in Canberra, I talked to the member for Spence and Mariel
Smith?
Yeah.
Senator Smith,
Yeah, and we collectively advocated for these types of hubs because our tertiary entrance is 2.2% lower than the national average, and it's going down, not up. And I think this is really quite vital. So I think this is a really, really important program for our tertiary students, be they TAFE students, be they university students. I think it's extraordinarily successful, and yeah, I hope people support it.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Hughes?
I'd like to second the officer's recommendation, but also, note the statistics are really quite concerning for our residents, and I've got one daughter that studies through Flinders, and when the trains weren't working, COVID and everything else, all three of my daughters were studying university at the time, and it was really challenging. And I think, if we had this tertiary hub earlier, it would really help a lot of people that are really struggling in the Gawler area to actually complete. They'll start university courses but not complete it. And I think anything we can do to actually help anyone of any age finish university studies, and I just has been really disappointing that it seems like the Barossa campus got up and running before anything was happening in Gawler, which was really frustrating. And I think it's really important that the council keeps pushing and getting support. I don't know if we're getting much support from the member for Spence, but I think we really have to push because those statistics are terrible, really, and we've got to do everything we can for our community. So strongly support this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Any other discussion? Councillor Hennessy?
Yeah, just to speak in support, I echo the words of the Mayor and Councillor Hughes. And added, I'm really pleased that Gawler's gone ahead and done its own with this pilot project, and the results show how necessary they are. I think it shows great innovation on behalf of the staff, which is great, and the response by seeing people in this centre it is really noticeable as well. It's now becoming that educational hub, and it adds to the vibrancy of the type of people here on throughout, well, not only the day, but the night as well. And it's great to see that we have the flexibility to allow this to be a 24/7 hub. I would just encourage staff to perhaps share some of these good news stories, some of the comments that were in the attachments, perhaps via media release as well, because I think it says within the report, a lot of this is word of mouth, and continuing to help spread that word of mouth is going to ensure that others will come forward and make use of the facilities. So thank you to the staff for the report and the effort so far.
Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. Any other discussion on the item? Councillor White.
Thanks, Chair. I agree with everything that's been said and very happy to support this motion. Only one comment I would say too is that the numbers in increasing the usage of our ground floor meeting rooms, as an example, I think of activating some of those spaces that potentially weren't being activated, or I guess during those times where potentially there's not many other uses for them, I think is fantastic. And for the Civic Centre as a whole, seeing those numbers and the capacity boosted by this program, I think is another testament to how successful it's been. So looking forward to seeing it continue into the new calendar year as well.
Thank you, Councillor White. Any other discussion? Councillor Lorna?
Yeah, I think it's also what everyone else had to say is a really good thing, what we are doing to try and support our youth, and not just our youth, to develop more in their education. I do like the part here of the individual accommodations were made for a student who is visually impaired to safely and independently access the facilities. I reckon that's a great job done by the team. So I'm in full support of this and hope it all goes well. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Lorna. Any other discussion? If not, I might just quickly add that having worked in the higher education sector supporting students, I think those figures, as Councillor Hughes said, are quite concerning. As part of the National University Accord process, it's been identified that there is a lot more need for support, especially in places out here like the north. Our numbers are concerning. Elizabeth is half what we are here as well, so the whole electorate of Spence mentioned here is pretty dire, and these are not people who are inherently not smart. They're people who have work commitments, people who have children, people who have access requirements, people who generally come from low SES backgrounds. These are not people who are inherently dumb in any way, and so that recognising those structural barriers that are in place is important, and steps like this from local communities like ours are really important to make sure people get access to higher ed. Having said that, if there's no further discussion, are you happy for me to put that motion? Would you like to close the debate? So, it's discussion.
Right. Yeah, Matt Burnell, when I was talking to him, and I think he has been really, really supportive, he's advocating for tertiary hubs in the north, and there will be an opportunity to go for funding in the new year. He likens the electorate of Spence to a remote Aboriginal community. Our numbers are similar to a remote Aboriginal community. That is appalling. That is absolutely appalling, and it actually goes to the heart of the lack of educational opportunities for people in the north. And I think the federal government have dropped the ball and the state government have dropped the ball. And I think this tertiary hub, local government have picked up the ball, and I think it's fabulous that local people within a 20k radius can access Gig City connection, and within 5 minutes of their home. I think it's fabulous, and yeah, I think Matt Burnell is trying very hard, and I think he is very, very supportive. He understands the numbers, And yeah, I have a lot of faith in Matt Burnell to deliver in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll now put that. All those in favour? That's unanimously carried. Thank you. On now to 7.3, Mules update. So given that we've got some options here, I was going to suggest, if it would suit the chamber, that we might want to suspend meeting procedures to have a brief discussion about some of those options. Councillor Hennessy, you'd like to move that? Yep. So Councillor Hennessy's moved to suspend meeting procedures. Can we have a show of hands to indicate whether we would like to do that? That's unanimously carried. Right. Who would like to speak first on this matter? Councillor Hennessy?
I'll kick off. I do realise this is my first term, but I'm going to suggest that we go for the third option, that we no longer investigate a mural and that we return the $13,000 to the budget. I do that because it is a tight budget year. We've had some remarkable success, and I can only congratulate all those involved in the murals that we have. In terms of public art, they have been outstanding. They've certainly enlivened the community, got a buzz going, whatever. But it feels to me that there have been delays in this process, I understand that, but it feels like we haven't got an end date to this. And I think it's time now that we do bring it to an end. I quite like some of the alternatives. I think the staff have certainly gone and offered solutions which reduce the risk of us intervening with private walls. But it still feels like we're looking for a solution to spend the rest of the money. I'm going to go bold and say, let's just cut it now. We can revisit this at another time as part of the activation budget, but I think we've done some really good work. Return the money to the budget and allow others to step forward and do their own wall murals. And I do know there's been a number of private organisations that have done that and others that might be interested in the future. So I start the discussion.
Councillor Davies?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I definitely understand the frustration around the private stuff. I feel it's, gone into a bit of a stalemate. I mean, my preference would probably then be the second option. I just think that this is the most successful art project in terms of how the community has reacted to it that I've seen. You know, art can be very controversial. There's a lot of the stuff that, you know, not just for us. We've had our entrance statement and the hand and such, but you know, other Adelaide City Council's had their pigeon lately, their big pigeon, and it always turns into a big kerfuffle on social media where they say, oh, they're spending our money on blah 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 blah. You know, and you know, I think art has value and adds value to the town, but it's rare to see art that is as universally approved as this in terms of, you know, I haven't heard any negative comments about the Civic Centre mural, no, which is fantastic and it really makes a big difference. And that's not just, it's not just fluff, I guess, like, because I think sometimes people can think of art as like a, oh, well, you do the roads first and then, you know, art can be something that comes along, but the art is making our spaces more attractive and more valuable. You know, it's not just there for the sake of art. It is actually a value to our town and in this case for cheap, you know, quite cheap prices compared to a lot of the other things we do with a lot of value. So I just think, you know, we can talk about when will it end, but I don't think we've covered about 3 walls so far, and there's a lot of walls in Gawler. You know, I don't think we're at a point where it's like we've hit a cap and we're running out of things to do. I think if we, you know, continue to look at this, And yeah, I think the private stuff probably, it seems like that's going to be tricky to navigate, so, but I'm happy to continue to look through on council facilities. That's my thoughts.
Mayor Redmond?
Yeah, look, I tend to agree with you, Cody. I think that art brings out lots of creativity, and when you have art on walls, and I think we need to focus on council-owned walls. I think the privately owned walls, I think it's a matter for the private owner, and I was always feeling a little bit uncomfortable with paying 50% or 30% or 25% or whatever it was, because I think it's a matter for the private owner to do their own wall, and if they come up with a plan that they'd like to do, we should consider it. However, I think that we should focus on our council-owned walls, and so I completely agree with you.
Councillor Kosh?
Yeah, look, after reading this document, I was a bit concerned about the idea of paying a percentage on a private building. My view, I actually agree with Councillor Hennessy that we should put it to rest at the moment, maybe look at it later on. As soon as you start going to a private business, it looks like that you're supporting one business over another business. There's issues about the maintenance, if it gets graffiti, etc. If the wall moves or something, how do we make sure we keep on top of that? The lifespan, what happens at the end of the life? None of that's here, and so you just paint over it. I mean, it's just too many things in there for me to support a percentage payment to a private landholder for a mural. I'm sort of okay with on council property, because we can manage the whole thing. We can manage it all. We can get a maintenance budget in place. We can work out what its lifespan is, when it's going to finish, etc., etc. And it is public, and it's a public space, and it's public money, and it'll be public enjoyment. In the other respects, it looks like we're sort of supporting a private enterprise to bolster their private business over other businesses, which I'm not very happy with. So I'm happy for that third option. That's my view. Thank you.
So are there any other comments about those options that we have there, Councillor White?
Thanks, Chair. Firstly, I'd like to say that Councillor Davies makes an excellent point about art. I've been racking my brain, and there's not too many artworks that are so universally loved, I think, especially around Australia at least. And I think about street art, I think about, I'm sure Councillor Samble's seen plenty on his travels, silo art around some of our regional communities. They're fantastic, and everyone loves them. I've never heard any negative comments. So that part of me goes, yeah, this is really great. Let's go ahead with it. Then I also completely understand where Councillor Hennessy is coming from with regards to the budget this year, and going, maybe it's not feasible as it stands at the moment. Yes, it's been hugely successful over the past couple of years, but maybe the position we're in now isn't quite what we should be spending that money on. I also completely see the arguments with contributing money to a private wall, what that looks like for the community versus a council-owned wall. But then again, I also go, the location that Subway is in is also a very public-facing wall in Walker Place, and could be seen by the community as a fantastic spot. So there's lots of variables. I think what I'm kind of leaning towards at the moment is what I'm sort of hearing around the chamber and around the community is there's definitely support for street art and for murals. However, maybe as it stands with this, we probably prefer to invest on a council-owned wall or not at all at this stage. But maybe in the long term, I think we've done our first bit of inspiring private businesses and local businesses to maybe jump on board and invest their own money. So maybe, and this is just purely a suggestion, is there a possibility where council down the track can provide support, community grants, like we do with community grants, but maybe mural grants where businesses could apply through a competitive application process, and then funding is awarded to businesses through that sense, rather than I guess, what could be perceived as picking favourites. If we had a process in place down the track where every year we had $10,000 to spend and businesses could apply the same way they do our community grants program, maybe that would be a really great look. And also say, hey, council are here to support. We love street art, we love murals in Gawler. We're here to support you, but also it kind of keeps our distance by going, we're happy to help a little bit, but we can't pay for every wall, and businesses, if you'd like to jump on board, you can do that as well. We're happy to support you. So that's just a suggestion. I'm happy to hear what other members think about that, and maybe that's not necessarily a discussion for now, maybe that's down the track. But as it stands at the moment, I'm not 100% comfortable with the first option. I'd probably be looking towards either looking at our own walls or maybe just accepting that as it stands at the budget at the moment, we might return that as a saving.
Thank you, Councillor White. Councillor Samuel?
Thanks, Mr Chairman. We've heard tonight an excellent report, 7.1, about digital marketing and things like that, and I agree with what I've heard tonight. I totally support number 3, that we pull up at this particular point, because never ever has come to this meeting here tonight about fantastic art that's on the car park around there. Do we know how many people? I would have thought, I mean, I'm not into this age, I'm sorry, I'm past that, but surely people would comment on all that digital type of thing. Is there any way that maybe every now and then, or there's a report, as Councillor White said, there's a new tank that was owned by the Water Department that's just been painted over the Eyre Peninsula, and in 1 month, they had something like 6,000 people visit to take a photo. But the person that wrote the thing said they all missed, where were the mobile coffee vans and the mobile food vans? They should have known and been there. But when the question was asked to them, they said, well, we didn't even know it was going to be painted. You know what I mean? So again, it's communication. And I'm just wondering, because, people quite often say to me about the art around here on the car park wall, but we've never had any records about how many people have just written in, and said, it's great, we'd like to see more of it. But I will be supporting what Councillor Hennessy has said in the third option.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Samuel. Take that, there's some feedback. Councillor Davis, would you like to say something?
Yeah, just on what Councillor White was saying about grants or that kind of thing. I think we do want to encourage businesses to do up their own fronts, whether that's through murals or whatever else. We have the heritage stuff for contribution, but there's a lot of stuff on Murray Street, for example, that I don't know if we could encourage people to do a bit more with it. It would be quite good. So I think that direction is something that, not related to this motion, but something that in terms of ways to encourage landowners to do up their buildings, I think that's a perpetual thing for Gawler, that it's worth looking into ways that we can do something about that.
I think I'll just add that I agree with what Councillor White said. I think it's probably not something that we should try and amend into the motion here, but probably something we should look at in future. Not necessarily, being opposed to putting things on private walls, but having a set of standards and a process for what that would look like, so that the community knows that it's fair and they know what the expectations are on them. And I think that's, through this process, has been something which has been tricky, because we don't know who makes a decision first, whether it's council who says we would like a mural of this size and this is what we're going to contribute, or whether the business owner has to say, they want it, how much they want to contribute and how big they want it first. So I think having those guidelines in place, if we do something, is a valuable conversation to have. But I think unless anyone else has anything to add, I think we're pretty clear at the moment on what the options are before the chamber. Councillor Davies? Pardon? Sorry. All right. If there's no further comments, we'll what's the wording? We'll resume meeting procedures, formal meeting procedures. Councillor Davies, you want to test the water with a motion there?
Yeah, I'll test the water. The second option, that we no longer investigate a mural on an external privately owned wall, but that we do continue on our own walls for this budget cycle. It's not a guarantee that we'll approve another set of funding in the next budget cycle, but this is the money we had allocated. I think there's enough there to go towards something that will be an asset to our community. And yeah, I won't say too much because we've just had a big discussion, yeah, I'll move that.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Seconding, Mayor Redman, would you like to speak? No, no worries. Any other discussion? No, there being none, are you happy for me to put that motion, Councillor Davies? I'll put that. All those in favour? All those against? That is lost. I must admit, I didn't see who put their hand up first, but I'm going to go to Councillor Hennessy.
Oops. I'm going to therefore offer the third solution, the recommendation that we no longer investigate a mural on the wall, noting that the remaining $13,000 within the budget be returned to the 23-24 budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. Councillor White, you're happy to second that. Would you like to speak?
Yes, no, thank you, Chair. I was also going to move that final motion, and I know you mentioned before, Chair, about not including anything, but I did just want to ask whether, and with the mover too, whether there was any sentiment to add in about in the future Council is presented with a report or a conversation of something around what a set of standards and or I guess, I'm not quite sure, selection panel, something that could be looked into regarding murals. However, also very much like what Councillor Davies said, I don't know whether we want to put this in now. I'm happy to seek advice, but I just thought I'd put that out there.
Okay, right. So that just been advised. So that would have to be a fourth option. It would have to have a part A and a part B. And it would have to be amenable to Councillor Hennessy as well. So, I mean, Councillor Hennessy, are you amenable to that suggestion? Fantastic.
Happy to get some assistance with wordsmithing
Yes.
too, if anyone or Councillor Hennessy want to.
So would you like a report, a workshop? What's the...
I think a report to a future Corporate and Community Services Committee meeting on, I guess, next steps or options on how we could proceed with guide. Yes, yeah. So with options, that's right. So it could definitely options be about a selection panel or a sort of grants program, or it could be any other options that staff are willing to research and present. But I think in my mind at the moment, I think if a grants program was one of those options, I'd be very happy to see that in a report, and then we could have a more formal discussion about how that would take effect. If you're happy with that, Councillor Hennessy.
I might just hand over to Andrew
Yes,
for a
thank you.
comment about the best way to do that.
Just through the chair, I thought the language was along the lines of guidelines, and you might want to put that into the wording of this.
Yeah, that was picked up as you turned around. So yeah, that's good. Probably best to keep this one broad so that we can get as many options as. I'm sure staff will pick up on the sentiment of it. We'll just wait for it to come together.
On their walls. And that covers both community organisations and private
Yes, yeah, Councillor White.
Thank you, Chair. And I think I'm happy to leave, if the mover's happy, to leave it like that, and staff could, as part of that report, talk about guidelines, talk about grant programs. If there's a mutual understanding around the table now, I'm happy to keep it as a little bit vague. But I think, yeah, speaking to that motion, I think the position...
Just double checking.
Sorry.
That's the wording's appropriate. Councillor Hennessy. Yep.
Happy with
Fantastic.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. So again, I think, like mentioned before meeting procedures resumed, there is great community sentiment around street art murals within the town. However, at this position, I agree with what has been discussed and what is up for voting at the moment. But in the same breath, I think that second point does allow a more formal process and different options for a more formal process to be taken into consideration for next year's budget cycle. And I think we can actually really solidify Gawler as a place that has a vibrant street art community. And, you know, if there was a program that became up and running similar to our community grants program, which now is an annual thing that community groups know about, the community's aware of, I think that is a very exciting prospect. And it also solves the problem about not having clear guidelines or being a little bit unsure of how it would be perceived by the community if we invested in particular local businesses, private businesses. So very happy to support this motion, and thank you to the Chamber and staff for their support with the second part.
Councillor Hughes.
I support this motion, and I think the debate we've had has been fantastic. I think everyone's roughly been on the same track with the mural work and the work by staff in the background on this has been amazing as well. So I don't want to see sort of it stop, and I think this is a way of trying to continue that in the community. I think it's really important that we encourage art, and I think this does that, and I think this is a good way forward, and I think there's a bit of momentum there. I mean, it's not the most important thing that council does, but it is one of the things that we can do for our community to enhance and try and get people using spaces, and I think art does that really well. So, I'm happy to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. We just have a quick suggestion. I'll just pass over to Andrew.
Sorry, just minor clarification. May I suggest that maybe the words should read committee regarding options that facilitate investment in murals on private walls, because the way in which, how you go about it is probably what the report would have to deal with. I just think maybe you're hemming yourself in, because it could be businesses, it could be other stakeholders, and we just said community. And I wonder whether we just need to give us a bit more room. I hear the sentiment of what's being said, but I just don't want to sort of narrow it too much. But that's up to you.
Does that make sense to the mover and the seconder? I don't think that material. Well, I think it doesn't change much. Just gives some more scope for that report to talk about things. But it's up to the mover and the seconder if you're happy with that, or whether you prefer the other option. Cool. All right. Thank you. That's all right. I think that's our motion now. Councillor Davies, would you like to speak?
Yeah, look, I think the second point is very good. That said, I'll still be voting against the motion because I want the funding for the murals.
Fair enough. Thank you, Councillor Davies. Any other discussion about this item? This has been changed around a bit, and I think we've got to a good stage with it. But everyone's clear what we're voting on, and no one needs a minute to reflect. No, fantastic. In that case, are you happy? Would you like to close the debate, or are you happy for me to put the motion? All right, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Now on to 7.4, which is the community grants. How would we like to proceed with that one? Noting that we have the three, we're required to appoint 3 members there. So if someone wishes to, we can move to nominations prior to moving the motion. That might be the best way to deal with it, but I'm in the hands of the chamber. Councillor Lorna? Yeah. It's just,
Yeah, if we can move to nominations, I guess.
Yep.
Please.
yeah. Thank you, Councillor Lorna. Who would like to be one of the council members on the community grants selection panel? Any interest, Councillor Samble? Any other interest? Mayor Redman and Councillor Hennessy? Yes, Councillor Lorna.
I just need to clarify before I put my hand up is what times do these things happen? So I've got a problem with another committee that I wanted to be on, which I just can't do. So if we have...
Fair enough. When's that likely to happen, David?
So through the chair, generally these selection panels do meet during the day, as in working day, not after hours. However, there is opportunity to provide virtual connection to those meetings for the discussion. Yep.
Yep. Is that? Yeah. Yep. That's all right. Thank you, Councillor Lorna. Any other nominations for that? No. All right. In that case, how would we like to proceed? Would someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor Hughes? Moving it. Would you like to speak? No. Oh.
Just quickly, I think these grants are really well received by our community, and a lot of community groups really get great benefit from it. And been on the panel in the past, and it's really a wide selection, and the staff work really well with the groups behind to actually get really good quality applications as well, which is really good as well. So it's a team effort, but yeah, happy to support or move the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Would anyone like to second the motion? Councillor Koch? No. Would you like to speak? No. No worries. Any discussion? Yes. Councillor Samble?
I may ask a question to maybe Linda. On item 11, St John's Ambulance, purchase of marquee for Gawler volunteer team. Is that for their team or for our Gawler volunteers, please? The reason for asking the question is, now, as you know, I'm involved with motorbike racing and speedway. St John's Ambulance now charge a lot of money to be at a speedway and all that. They're sort of operating like a business, and that's the only reason for asking the question is it is for Gawler volunteer team or for the St John's Ambulance who will now be taking over their own building back now because the new ambulance centre is going to be built up the top of Williston.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Samble. David?
So through the chair, that would be a marquee for the Gawler St John's Ambulance volunteers, not Town of Gawler volunteers.
Thank you, David. Any other questions or discussion? Councillor White?
Thanks, Chair. Just quickly, yes, I think, as we were mentioning in the previous item, the community grants are a very successful program. And I think on Councillor Lorna's point, yes, it's a bit tricky when selection panels meet during working hours, but it is also probably worth noting that that will be presented at the May CCS meeting, so that there will be time for a further discussion if there are any concerns as well. But in saying that, I also understand where you're coming from, Councillor Lorna. But just a couple of things in regards to the guidelines and application form within the attachments. I think we... in looking back over previous years with the community grants program, it's always been widely accepted, and we've got the rule about how you can't apply within 2 years. I think that's really great. However, in saying that, I don't actually know how long the community grant's been running for. Someone might be able to answer that for me. But it's for some time. I just wanted to maybe ask through the chair, moving towards the next year's community grants, is there any new initiatives, any new ways of engaging with community groups? Potentially, I'm just thinking, the worry that I have, and I'm not saying this is what we do have now, is that there's a bit of a trap or a cycle where it's the same groups that sort of apply within that couple-year cycle. How can we, I guess, engage with maybe groups that don't necessarily, wouldn't ordinarily engage or potentially don't know about it? So again, I'm not saying we do a fantastic job advertising it and all of that sort of stuff, but I guess just thinking for innovative ways. This can just be a statement, doesn't need to be a question as well. As we go out to start looking for expressions of interest, maybe just keeping in the back of our minds, what else could we be doing differently to maybe attract groups that maybe potentially in the past haven't firstly necessarily known it's happening, but secondly groups that don't necessarily normally apply. Just an observation. So happy for that just to be a statement, but all in all, it's a fantastic program.
Thank you, Councillor. I think that's good feedback, but I'll pass to David to give some insight there.
So through the chair, we'll definitely look into what those innovative ways are, but it'd be great if council members and committee members know who these groups are, that they directly target and promote the opportunity to them. Council staff may not be aware of all of those quirky little community groups out in the community. We do have a large network of organisations through the Community Services Forum, etc., which we think capture the majority of them. However, there could be those little ones that council members are aware of. So your support in promotion will be greatly appreciated.
And I'm sure if council members need any further information to pass on to community groups, that staff will be happy to assist with that as well. Awesome. Councillor Davies?
Yeah, just on that, I guess, is there, in terms of helping community groups, because there is a bit of minor bureaucracy that goes into all this. You know, you need to be an organisation and have the official bank account and all this sort of stuff, and that's part of what leads to the ones that already know how to do grants sort of being in the cycle a lot. Do we, I guess, you know, have a phone number to call or something for, like, if people are interested but they're not bureaucracy savvy in that way?
David?
Through the chair, certainly they can contact our council staff, and Linda, our community development officer, will be fantastic in that space. And we can always connect those sorts of organisations to other registered organisations that could auspice them. And if they make that clear on the funding application, then we'll, as staff, understand that it's not that club that it's applying. It's a different organisation applying, being auspiced by that club, so the 2-year rule can be accommodated in that respect.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions on the recommendation? No. In that case, are you happy for me to put that, Councillor Hughes? Yes. Yep. No worries. In that, I'll now put that. All those in favour? That's unanimously carried. Now we'll move on to 7.5, which is the Ageing Well Advisory Group appointment of community members. Mayor Redman?
Yes, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation. I'd like to give a bit of explanatory discussion around how the working group came to its decision around these people. There's a broad range of experiences in every one of these people. Certainly Peter Smith, as the General Manager of Gawler Retirement Homes, is a worthy candidate. Leanne Chenoweth works at Eldercare. Patrick Honan and Wendy Sparks have lived experience. Lynn Lillicrap is an older person but also with a disability, and I think will bring some fresh thinking to the group. Deborah Anderson works, I think, still with Barossa Council, lives in Gawler and has been in the aged care sector. John Bolton, there was great discussion around many of these names, and I think John Bolton, he certainly demonstrated that he can bring some fresh ideas, I think, to the group, and he certainly nursed his elderly parents in Queensland, but certainly, I think there's quite a broad range of people that will bring some interesting ideas. Certainly, the behavioural standards applies to this group, just as it applies to us. And I think that if anyone steps out of line, they will be cautioned and reminded of their responsibilities. So I think that I don't know if they will. I'm sure that they will have a passion for the Ageing Well Advisory Group, and it was a lively debate. Brian certainly had many ideas that you brought to the table, and so did Councillor Hennessy, and it was quite an interesting debate. So if that's of any help to people that may be needing some clarification around how we went about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Redman. Is there a seconder for that, Councillor Hughes? I saw first, or would you like to speak? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, just briefly. It's great to see that there was a great cross-section of applicants, and I think the report sort of adequately describes the appointments too in a clear and transparent manner, which I think is difficult, but it's really good to see as well. So I thank the report authors and everyone involved. Well done to get it out like that as well. It's not easy. So happy to second it.
Any other discussion on this item? Councillor White.
Thanks, Chair. Firstly, I'd like to say I appreciate the work that the selection panel did, and also work prior to me coming on council with the Ageing Well framework. I think it's great to see it, just about there, be putting into action soon. Look, I have a couple of concerns with what's before us. I think, firstly, it's important to note this.
So I'll just make it clear as well that if we are voicing broad concerns, that's fine to do. Though if we are talking about concerns about any specific members, I would advise we go into confidence, just so that we're being respectful to our community members as well, and so we're not saying our opinions about their appointment are not being publicly made a public statement, just out of respect to those people. So if there is any concern about an individual, please make sure we move to go into confidence before you do that. But if you're voicing broad concerns, then you're more than welcome to do so. Sorry, Councillor White, you're welcome to continue.
No, that's fine, Chair. Look, in that case, if possible, I might attempt to move that we go into confidence under the Act to discuss the personal affairs of any person living or dead. However, if the Chamber doesn't want to support that, that's absolutely fine. I'm happy to provide broad overviews, but I might try my luck and move that way if that's okay with you, Chair.
So I've got the full provision here, but thank you, Councillor White, for outlining which one you were speaking about. So that's section 90. 3A, which is the following information and matters are listed for the purposes of subsection 2, which is to move into. Can I get some governance advice on that. Is it a procedural motion or is it that because it's a procedural motion, so it doesn't interfere with the motion that stands, or it's not? Yes, that's a good suggestion. Is that in order to do that, we would lay the matter on the table. Thank you for the assistance, Mayor Redmond. So that the procedural motion would be to lay the matter on the table, and then if that motion is successful, we are able to go into confidence. Yeah, then we'll come back and raise the motion from the table. Thank you for that assistance. Is that how you'd like to proceed, Councillor White?
Thanks, Chair. I'm happy to move that we lay this matter on the table.
Yep. Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Lorna, you're happy to second that? Can't speak on a procedural, can you? Yeah, but you can't speak on a procedural, can you? So it's formal motion, sorry, yeah. So yeah, formal motion, sorry, yeah. So I'll put that then. All those in favour? Any against? That is unanimously carried. Now, we haven't moved into confidence yet. Yeah. So, Councillor White.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to move under the Act, and I might request that you read out the section that we move into confidence.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor White. So the section is 90, section 3A, which is that it involves information, the disclosure of which would involve the unreasonable disclosure of information concerning the personal affairs of any person living or dead. That is the, and is that? Yeah, I'm just waiting for that. I'm sure it's going up in a second. I'll just wait for that to occur. Right. Thanks. That's now up there. Is there a seconder for that? Oh, David, sorry. Point of clarification.
Sorry, through the chair, before you move second resolve, we just need to allow Sarah to adjust names, fill out the numbers, etc., because the motion's incomplete at this point in time. So before you resolve something that we can't actually affect, we'll just let her catch up.
Yeah. Is that something you need a minute for? Should we take it? No. Yeah. So we'll just take a minute for Sarah to adjust that. I'll allow you to speak to the moving of the motion, and then we'll come back before it's the second.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. No, just for full transparency then for the Chamber and the community, the reason I'm moving that we go into confidence to discuss the items, firstly is there's obviously individuals that are involved in this motion, so it would be unreasonable and unwise of council to disclose any information in confidence, out of confidence. But also, much to the point earlier, I think that Councillor Lorna was making about availability and selection panel. It's fantastic when we have small working groups, we have selection panels. But then if there's a question that wants to be raised by someone not part of that, which is what I'm intending to do, it's very tricky, I guess, to facilitate that without, when you're not in the room at the time, but also doing that outside of confidence is quite unwise and really not only, I guess, puts council at risk, but from our community members and people involved, it would be a very, very unwise thing to do and not a very fair and ethical thing, I think, to talk about other people like that. So that's why I'm moving this way, and if with the Chamber support, I hope that I'll be able to make my questions a little bit clearer. But that is the reason why I'm suggesting that we go into confidence.
And it's a good point to make that some of this selection is based on lived experience, and we need to be mindful of discussing lived experience and the experience of people's family members in a public forum as well. So that's now. We need a seconder. Okay, so that's the motion's complete now. That's. Oh yeah, yes, no, but the drafting of the motion is fine. That's all there. There wasn't one yet. Well, that's what we're waiting for. We're just making sure the motion is complete before we. Yeah, yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I get that. Sorry. All right, thank you. So, thank you, Sarah. Sorry, I understand that the way that we went about that messed with the system. So that motion, if we could just go down a tiny bit, so that that's there for everyone to see. Were there any concerns about that before I ask for a seconder? No. In that case, is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Davies? Sorry. Seconding. Any discussion? No. All those in favour? Unanimously carried. All right, we'll now move into confidence. I'll allow you to move that once the cameras are on, just so that we're not. Yep, that's good. Raising from the table is move a second. Yeah.
You need to move the motion as per the report. Yep.
So yeah, no, but raising from the table is one person moving, or move out second unanimously. Yeah. Yeah.
You move into the
Yeah. All right. Thanks. Is the live stream operating again? Fantastic. Thank you. We're back. In the public forum. So. Mayor Redman has moved that, was wishing to move that the item be raised or lifted from the table. Councillor Davies is seconding. All those in favour? Unanimously carried. So the debate continues where we left off. Is it? Yep. We have a mover, don't we? Let's, Can we just? So can we just scroll up a little bit so I can see who the mover and seconder are? So that's So moved by Mayor Edmund and seconded by Councillor Hughes, and Councillor White's the only one that spoke. So would anyone else like to say anything before we put that to a vote? If not, are you happy for that to be put, Mayor Edmund? I'll now put that. All those in favour? Any against? That is carried. Moving on now to actually, do you want a quick break? Yeah. We might move to a quick break, and then we'll come back in about 10 minutes' time at 9:07. All right, we're now at 9:07, so we'll I'll ask everyone to resume their seats when they can. Grab a couple of biscuits for the road, Councillor White. Yeah, so, yeah, don't spill your tea. Fantastic. All right, thank you. Right, so we're resuming with item 7.6, the Community and Neighbourhood Development Program funding opportunity. Councillor Davies? You're just moving? You're moving? All right, you would like to speak? Fantastic. Do we have a seconder for the recommendation? Councillor Hughes? Any discussion? No. In that case, are you happy for me to put the motion? Councillor Davies? All those in favour? That's unanimously carried. Thank you. Moving on now to item 7.7. This is the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Group item. Of course, we have some appointments to make for the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Group Membership Selection Panel. If we'd like to do the nominations for those first, who would like to nominate for that? Councillor Davies. I'd also like to nominate for that one. Is there anyone else who would be interested in being on that selection panel? Oh, Councillor Hennessy, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. There we have exactly 3 members there. So if there's no one else, is someone happy to move that recommendation? Councillor White, would you like to speak? Yep.
Just briefly, thanks, Chair. I'm happy to support the nominations for selection panel, but also just in regards to other items that were in the report. I think the GRAP group has done a fantastic job. There's lots of projects on the go. I would like to commend the group and staff on the replacement of the signs along the river. I think it's been a great achievement, but also the co-naming of our parks, which is now underway, and the signs are being quoted at the moment, as stated in the report. So I think that's really exciting for our community. I think that's going to be a great initiative, and I also know that being on the working group, there was discussions around education in the community and a bit of a campaign when we start rolling those names out. So I think that's exciting, and I look forward to seeing where that goes into the future.
Thank you, Councillor White. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hennessy, would you like to speak? No? No worries. Any discussion? Councillor Samble.
I was looking through the different papers here. How does the budget, is there a budget for all of this? Like, I noticed the signage and all that sort of thing. Are we, as a council, paying for all the signage and all of this? And what is the actual budget? Is there an actual total of it? The other part about it that I've got concern about, and this has come from a number of people in the community, is that we're going to put and call the different parks, which legendary, certainly they've been known as, and there's still a lot more parks that still have names and whatever, is we've never had Mr Buckskin or anybody at all come along to a council meeting and maybe speak to us here, which I feel has not been right. When the voice was going on and all these sort of things, we never saw, nobody came in to talk to us. There seems to be a bit of a break in that there if we are paying for all of this to occur. The names that have been picked out for the thicker ones, I know it's been said that that means football, that means that, and whatever may be, but it does concern me that maybe we're not communicating really, really well and understanding, because the community has spoken as to how they feel about some of these sort of things, and we need to make sure that we are working together with what the community wants as well.
Thank you, Councillor Sample. I will just note that we did have Dale, who came along, who's on that working group, who did come along to one of our CCS meetings and we asked some questions at the time. But there was a question there about budget, so I'll defer to David.
So through the chair, I'll take the specific budget allocation amount on notice. We do have an annual recurrent budget in the infrastructure and operations team regarding signage, and that's where we would be funding the signage from. The specific number I don't know off the top of my head. I'll take that on notice and get back to you. In regards to Councillor Sample's comments about the names and pronunciation, as per the report on page 54, there is a Ghana language workshop we're working on for all council members to occur in early 2024, where we intend that Jack Buckskin will be out and provide training on how to pronounce these names. He's also made audio recordings of all these names, and they're available on Council's website if you want to hear them spoken by Jack.
Thank you, David. Are there any other discussion on the item? If not, are you happy for me to put that, Councillor White? Yep. I'll now put that. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Moving on now to item 7.8, which is Gawler Activation Strategy Review and Engagement Plan. How would we like to proceed? Yep. Mayor Edmonds, happy to move that. Would you like to speak?
I think this is a good activation strategy. I commend the report. Thank you to Natasha Bevitt, who's here this evening. And I think Gawler Activation Strategy Review and Engagement Plan report is something to be celebrated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Edmund. Is there a seconder? I'll go to Councillor Davies. Would you like to speak? Any discussion? No, if not, you happy for me to put that, Mayor Edmund? I'll put that. All those in favour? Unanimously carried. 7.9 Policy Review. We have an officer's recommendation there for those policies. Do we have a mover? Otherwise the motion will lapse. Councillor Davies, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Davies. Do we have a seconder? Is that a seconding, Councillor White? Thank you. Thank you. So I know that these aren't particularly controversial items, but would you like to speak, Councillor White? Yeah.
I'll speak. I think I'd support staff's work in putting together policies. We have quite a number of policies. These ones, I think the town brand policy and banners policy is, not to say that they're any less value compared to the public consultation, but the public consultation one is a key policy, and it's something that we do. We're the only level of government that do this in Australia. So it's a pretty important policy. So going through it, there's only been some minor variations. I would say that currently, I think we do public consultation extremely well. I think it's always great when you see not just your typical surveys go out, but public engagement events that staff run with high attendance from community members, I think is just extraordinary, and total commendation to staff. Looking at these policies, when I was reading them and you see that, they'll be, in force until 2027, you're like, oh, that seems a little bit, well, 2027, that's crazy, like, what the heck? But I guess it's also probably good to note for members that policies can always be reviewed and updated and debated at any stage in their lifetime. And also in regards to our policy, I think it is still clear enough what we need to do, but also it, I guess I could say, allows the creativity of staff that are doing the consultation to be creative and come up with innovative ways to consult and engage with the community too. So I'm happy to second this. A lot of work comes from these policies, but also happy to also note that if there are any suggestions, ideas or discussions we want to have into the future prior to 2027, that is definitely something that Council is able to do.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councillor White. Any other discussion? Councillor Sample?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know to David I'm probably sounding like a broken record, but on page 223, of the attachment, it says that banners for annual events are not required to specify a year. The biggest thing that I get when people say to me, oh, the Gawler Show, oh, when's it on? No dates. And there's been a number of other things that have come up. And with our TV guru across the road over here, you would know that unless you promote something, you're not going to get people there. And that sort of thing. The other thing is I keep getting told that dates cannot be stuck onto the brochure once it's been produced. That is not right. I can guarantee that by 2 sign writers that do it regularly by re-sticking onto a banner. So I'm not sure why that is. The other thing, $10 million policy to be able to, insurance policy to have a banner hanging in our street. I mean, the cost of a $10 million policy to have the banner there, I'm just wondering what could possibly happen from a banner hanging across the street, why you'd need a $10 million policy.
I mean, Councillor Hennessy, you'd like to comment?
I can remember the very first year that the banners went up and one of those steel broke, and it was whipping a steel cable up and across the main street. So the enormous damage. Thankfully, it was pulled down very, very quickly and we avoided injury, but it could easily have killed somebody.
Thank you. Is it, obviously, you've spoken on. Is there anything else you'd like to say on the policies before you? No, fantastic. Thank you. Cool. That's a good clarification. I think if there's no further points of unless there's something else David want to respond to there.
So through the chair, just to address Councillor Sample's concerns about stickers, that's an old attitude that was conveyed many years ago. Adhesives have changed a lot over time, and currently our policy is not that we can't have stickers. We need to apply appropriate stickers to ensure that the stickers are fastened in an appropriate manner on those banners, and we do currently use stickers to go over dates. An example is the banners in the main street right now about the Gawler Carols, which has a sticker on it saying 9 for December. In terms of not requiring dates, that's a guideline. You don't need to have a date on it. If you want a date on it, you can have a date on it. That's a choice for the event holders themselves. So the policy itself doesn't say you must not have dates. It says you don't need to if you don't want to. But stickers we definitely use now in the newer age of adhesive. There was an issue many years ago, similar issue to Councillor Hennessy was saying about the cable, where a large sticker which was on a banner fell off the banner straight onto a car's windscreen and the person couldn't see to drive. That was when adhesives weren't that good, and that's when the policy was put in place not to use adhesives. These days the adhesives are much better, and so we're comfortable with using stickers over dates.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Sample? Cool. Fantastic. Any other discussion on the policies? No. Fantastic. In that case, you happy for me to put that, Councillor Davies? Yep. I'll put that. All those in favour? Unanimously carried. On now to 8, information reports. 8.1, we have the community scorecard update. So, Mayor Redmond.
I'd like to move the information reports en bloc. Hopefully people will support that.
Do we have a seconder to move the reports en bloc? Councillor Kosh. I'll put that. All those in favour? Yep. Sorry. 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 Sorry for that. So that they all be moved en bloc. Sorry. Apologies before we go to a vote. Would anyone like to speak to any of those reports in that case? I'll go to Councillor Kosh. Thank you for the point of clarification, Councillor Davies. Councillor Kosh, and then we'll go to Councillor Hennessy.
Thanks, Chair. I just want to look at the Villawood Gawler Christmas Parade. In the report, it talks about the contribution from council. Can I just get an indication of the amount that Villawood are contributing and what that contribution is going to?
David.
So through the chair, my understanding is that Villawood are providing $14,000 in sponsorship of the event, and that money is being used to secure entertainment during the parade, such as roving performers to warm up the crowd, so to speak, while they're waiting, and also entertainment after the parade. It's also been used for some of the promotional aspects, such as corflute signs that'll be down the main street, banners at the entrances, and those sorts of things. So that's what the money's being used for from Villawood.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification, Dave. Councillor Hennessy?
Yeah, I just... hang on, what's going on? It's not... Somebody's not turned off.
Oh, sorry, that's working now.
Okay, right,
You're on,
fine,
yeah.
thank you. Not used to the system. I'm just in comment for the community scorecard. I'm really pleased to see that there's going to be a review. I know it's a very powerful, but my experience, and I have talked to Sharon before on this, is that we've got far too much information presented in a very, very compact method. So I'm really looking forward to a review where we can use infographics in a slightly more appropriate way. So I look forward to the outcome of that. However, that said, it's great that we've got that tool that we are able to then use as we see fit. So I'm looking forward to an update on that one.
Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. Any other discussion on the information reports? No. If not, then are you happy for me to put that motion, Mayor? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Unanimously carried. Thank you. So we'll just adjust that. So I'll just wait for this to be updated before we move on. So I don't believe there's any items listed for discussion. Any questions without notice? No. If there's none, we have one motion on notice, which is a motion from Councillor White, I believe, on external events in Gawler. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor White?
Yes, please. Thanks, Chair. Look, as the town of Gawler grows, and as well as the northern areas of Adelaide grow, residents are looking for more and more activities and events to attend within their area. Gawler already plays host to a range of local community-driven events, which are always well attended and greatly appreciated by the local community. One of the unique features of Gawler, I believe, is our natural riverine environment, with Colonel Light's design providing fantastic open, wide green spaces all along our rivers. These green spaces, particularly in close proximity to our town centre, are a perfect venue for outdoor events, specifically events that bring in large crowds from Gawler and, importantly as well, from Adelaide and regional South Australia to the town for the specific event. So these events could include music concerts, jazz afternoons, food events, day on the green style events, festivals or other larger scale events that are hosted, importantly, by external third-party providers. Providing our spaces to third parties to host these events not only brings an income into council, but also shifts the responsibility of the event away from council staff to a third party. It will attract more people to visit, spend money, stay within our town, driving local hospitality, retail and tourism economies. It also strengthens Gawler as an established community with great events on offer, something that new developments around Gawler will look towards us for, as they will not be able to offer the same established parks and venues that we have. Now, this is not a unique idea, and Gawler has already played host to third-party events previously. For example, off the top of my head, the recent food truck carnival at Princess Park. Further abroad, looking to our neighbours, the Barossa Council regularly hosts external providers during the vintage season, and on a larger scale, the City of Adelaide has a full calendar of external events, leasing out their parklands to the Adelaide Fringe, Oz Asia Festival, music festivals, the list goes on. The motion I've got presented to you tonight simply requests council staff to provide a current state of play on what has previously been achieved in this space, what our parks could look like advertised as event spaces, and next steps options on how council could proceed in approaching external event providers within this space. We already have so many wonderful events in Gawler that are driven by the community, and not for 1 second do I want to take away from that. Volunteers, council staff work so hard to put these events on. However, investigating additional third-party events in more detail could add another element to the diverse array of activities Gawler offers. And Gawler is in a perfect location, some distance from Adelaide, which makes it a great day trip for these sort of events, while being not too far. And with our train line leading directly into our beautiful town from the city, we really are in a perfect position to make full advantage of what we have on offer. So I'd like to ask all members to consider this proposal and ask you to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor White. Is there a seconder? Councillor Davies, would you like to speak?
Yeah, look, I think it's a good motion. I think, it's just asking for a report. There's one space that I would like to see if we can figure out what to do with is Walker Place. This is, we sort of, I don't know, we renovated it, but it's too expensive to hold anything on that requires doing anything extensive, and so it doesn't get, used that much for that sort of thing. But there is space for smaller, just more busking or whatever else, at the space. So that's just something that I would add to that. But I think it's a good motion.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'm going to go to Councillor Hennessy, then come to Councillor Koch.
Yeah, I'm happy to support this, and I thank the councillor for putting it up. I think it's a good and wise move, and if both to attract people to use those spaces, but also to ensure, because all of the ones that you've mentioned are part of our parklands and our reserves, so it's that balance between using them as social space, but also using them appropriately and ensuring that third parties are very clear about what can and can't be used. I think this could be some exciting programs. We have had some in the past, going back many years. Some of those survived for 2 or 3 years but didn't continue. Maybe having this additional information will encourage people. It's difficult as a private enterprise to move into this space, but if we show that we're willing to work with organisations, I think there could be some interesting events. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Koch.
I'm a bit confused about this one because I'm on our page. It says Parks for Hire, and it says there are many parks, gardens, and reserves that provide a range of activities for visitors, and it goes through all the parks that are available, and then it's got the event forms and then downloadable forms, everything. So if it's already there, I don't know what we're actually asking for, because I remember we had a big thing at Goose Island that went for a year, I think, and it folded because I think they lost money on it. And they lost money on it. And I remember there was a big event up at Williston Oval, a big country and fair thing, and I think that lost money, didn't it? Yes. Yeah. So it's already there. I mean, people surely could see this and go, well, there's an opportunity. We had the food truck, which I was a bit annoyed by because they were only charged for, turning up and putting up their vans, and we didn't get a cut of their trade. I think we should have got a cut of the trade, considering how much they took out of the community. So it's probably not one that we're overly keen to support when they're actually taking thousands and thousands of dollars out of the community. You're not really providing very much. But I really don't know. The information's already there. People have tried. I don't know what. I don't know what we're trying to achieve here. But obviously, other people might think it's okay. I won't be voting for it, but the information's already there. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Councillor Lorne, and then we'll come to Councillor Sample.
Thank you for that. I really actually like the motion, and that we need to really get the town of Gawler activated in that again. Councillor Koch, in regards to the food truck day, yes, all the proprietors were making the money out of it. However, there was a very good community event where lots of people were down there. I went there after work. Getting everyone out and about in the town of Gawler is what we're all trying to achieve, whether we're giving it to money to Joe Bloggs or building our community so everyone's feeling like it's a community.
Sorry, Councillor Lorna, can you just move the mic a bit closer to you?
No,
There we go. Just for people online.
everyone can hear me,
Sorry,
mate. Come
No,
on.
I'm thinking about the people
Right,
online.
thank you.
yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
My
Sorry
apologies.
about that. Continue.
You know, there used to be some really good events around Gawler. You know, the times and that are changing where we can activate, and yes, it's on the website, but how are we actively promoting it and looking to these other providers to actually come into Gawler? And I guess that's what Councillor White is requesting a report back. Yes, if we've had some things that failed, then we need to understand why they failed, what we need to do better, and how we're going to actually get people to come to Gawler. More people come into Gawler, they go, this is not a bad place. Let's start activating the main street a little bit more and get other businesses involved. So I fully support what you're doing there, Councillor White, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lorna. Councillor Samble?
Yeah, everybody said the right thing. I think, Councillor Kosh, what Councillor White is wanting to do is to activate it to make it work. We've heard about the food truck. Well, the food truck was at Williamstown here this year, right? And I went to it because I love food and that sort of thing. Oh, you didn't want to come back to Gawler? No, too expensive and not helpful, right? That's what this bloke told me. Whether he's right, wrong or ugly, I don't know. What I'm saying is that with the parks and that we've got, just recently, a country music star, now I know most of you into classic, I'm into country, and that sort of thing, rang from Tamworth and said to me, Sambo, why is it so expensive to come down? For years I was coming down and bringing my concert, when he's on the road doing a tour, to the elderly centre. Why is it so dear? Now, there's a meeting this week, so I'm going to sneak in when David's not looking to just hear how prices are actually... I think we're too expensive. We're not supporting people and clubs to come to our town. That is my opinion, coming from the people that have these events and bring them to the community. I mean, Goose Island, you said about that. Without a doubt, that lady, well, I can't remember her name, that was a great plan. And the ones that she had, no, they didn't make any money, but it was the start of it. What a fantastic venue for outdoor events, Goose Island. And what's it used for now? Little dogs to pee and wee on them and that sort of thing, and it costs us $250 a time to cut the grass. I think we've got to look at the big picture, like as I meant before, $10 million policy. I mean, with my property and that up in the north, when four-wheel drive clubs come, they give me a $10 million policy to drive their vehicles and do silly things in their four-wheel drives and everything, plus they're covered by their club. But I've got to have a policy because they're coming onto my property. And this year, the $20 million I've got to have is quite incredible. The insurances are going up and up and up. So if all of a sudden Cody Davies decide he's going to, have a fantastic event, on Hemmerford Park up here and so forth, instead of a TV tower going up that we found out on the gossip line the other day, and we know nothing about that, but you do, I've been told today by two old farts that come around and tell me what's going on around Hemmerford there. I reckon we've just got to look at it, and maybe it can come out of the meeting with Mr. Butt and the committee on this week to look at it, because there's too many rules. The rules get greater every year from this council as to what we've got to do is be more supportive, and we'll get these people to come. I mean, the country music star that's coming from Tamworth, he's won huge awards at Tamworth, the country music capital. He'll be singing now at the Williston Country Music Club because of the price and because of they want him to come there and so forth, and they'll sell other things and so forth. I just think we've got to be a little bit more realistic about it, and I support Councillor White's motion all the way and asked other councillors to support it also. We've got to get better at what we're doing. It's not working now.
Thank you, Councillor Samble. Is there any other discussion on the item? If not, are you happy for me to put, or would you like to close the debate, Councillor White? Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, look, I think just to summarise what's been said, first of all, this motion just requests a report to come back with the state of play and some options, so we can, with that report coming back, I think that allows us to then have discussions about what that could look like. But for now, it's just simply a requesting that information to come to the CCS. Look, again, these sort of events that we've discussed that would, could potentially hold are not taking away from community-driven events. They're simply building upon it. Councillor Koch, in regards to your query about advertising it online, so in regards to sort of large-scale events, generally what happens is you have event providers that might be contracted to run an event. They're actively looking for sites, but normally are met halfway with venue holders, and that's where you get those relationships going where events come back to the same venue holder. So it's very much, if it sits on our website, that's great and we want it there, but it's a different demographic. So the places I think we're discussing in this report would be sort of the higher level, larger scale events, and they're not necessarily going to be scrolling through websites. We could be looking at options on how we can approach them, or at least be in the right market, so that, that's again what this report asks, is that where do we need to sit to be in this market? What do we have to be doing? So that's kind of, I hope that kind of helps answer your question there. And again, Councillor Lorna touched on a bit about money. This does potentially bring in an opportunity to bring in income to council, but more than money, it's about the well-being of our community. It's about putting an event on that all our community members can go out and enjoy. And of course, you've got all those wonderful, positives of bringing people to the town, increasing the economy, all of that stuff which we know is so important. These events can be a catalyst in that. So I really hope that my fellow elected members will support this. And yeah, very, very happy to see where this goes and look forward to seeing what can happen in this space in the future.
Thank you, Councillor White. I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Right. On to 12. Are there any motions without notice? Sorry, Councillor Samble.
Sorry, Mr Chairman, it's not a motion without notice, but you've been going pretty quick for me. I'm old.
Sorry, yeah.
A question without notice, if I may have, after.
Yeah, we've moved past that, but I'll allow it. Ask away.
I think the question is, and I raised the issue just a minute ago when I was talking. While I was cleaning up my footpath today, and my wife has told me to clean things up because Christmas is coming, and so forth, I had a phone call from Wendy, and about 10 minutes before that, two old blokes that walk around our area around where Paul and I live, said to me, "Oh, I didn't see you at the meeting yesterday." And I said, "What meeting was that?" And he said, "Oh, a meeting on the phone tower going up in Hammerford Park." And he said, "Well, Councillor Koch was there, and, I just don't know." And I said, "Well, I'm really, really sorry. I know nothing about it." Well, then later on I was talking to Wendy, and it was, she said she'd only just heard about it. But a discussion went on here a while ago about doing something else and get rid of the three-corner jacks and the burr and everything off of Hammerford Grove, which Paul and I live in that area, to make it a more feasible park for people to use. But I don't know where this is going to go, but I, as an elected member, an area council member, knew nothing about it, but I was under the understanding that Cyril Koschel, when he donated that land, said that there was not to be any infrastructure other than a playground or anything else built on it. So I'm a little bit confused about what's going on here, because the Taj Mahal opposite the council office, everybody at the moment is bating breath as to what colour it's going to be painted. And there's a lot of this stuff that we certainly don't know about. One other question while I've got the thing switched on is that there's an email been flowing around, and it says about a gentleman that's got a problem with a tree. And this tree, the email, I just can't remember his name. And in his email, he said that ETSA does not take down trees. well, I'm really sorry because ETS's truck and everything came and cut down a tree because it was interfering with the power lines on Melaleuca Drive. I'm afraid I'm getting a bit frustrated about how we're reading emails, we're not getting the information, so that when we're confronted by a ratepayer, we don't have any idea what to say. So I'm just wondering if my question's without notice because, you know, the Eiffel Tower that's going to go up to make, you know, one of the phone companies make millions of dollars is going to go up when it goes to our council for approval.
All right, thank you, Councillor Sember. So I think there's two questions there. I'll get Andrew to answer, and then if there's something you'd like to say, you're welcome to. Yeah. Sorry, Andrew.
Through the chair, I might deal with the Mr. Johnson question first, if you like, and then I'll get back onto the phone tower after that. So there's been some ongoing discussions between Mr. Johnson and Wendy's team for a period of, it feels like years, and it probably has been years, in regards to an assertion he has made that he believes that council staff offered to remove a tree, which I believe is on his property or on the edge of his property. We have sought further legal advice on the matter, and I think Wendy's meeting with him Thursday this week. So I can come back to you with some further information, but he has a view as to whether he thinks it's council responsibility to deal with the tree. Our advice today has been it's not our responsibility to deal with the tree on his land. Hopefully we can find some middle ground somewhere, but that's a conversation she's having. So I'll leave that one at that. In regards to the phone tower DA, there is an application that's been lodged with council, with the assessment manager. That's being assessed as we speak. Ultimately, that would go to CAP, which Councillor Koch is on, which is likely to be next year. My understanding is that the application is currently live and it's going through an engagement process, and there are submissions. I've had requests from certain people in this room to have a copy of the submission form to be able to put in their own submissions or form their own views on the matter, which is fine. The issue is somewhat separate, the DA process, from the issue of owner's consent, if you like, in terms of leasing the land. That would have to be a separate report that goes to council, because clearly you can't build a tower on council land without a lease being issued. So it's likely that there'll be a report to council before Christmas in December on the issue of the lease. And is it right or wrong that the DA was lodged before the lease was agreed to? Or should you get the DA approved before you seek a lease? There's no right or wrong answer to that, but that's the process they've gone through. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Yep.
I tell you, one of the persons that is in that group, he's just bought the house right next to where the tower's going to go, and he's not over happy. He said, I've just moved into my new house, and now I find there's going to be a tower up alongside of me. So is that known, is it?
The process with an application that's notifiable, like this one has been, is that all parties within on common boundary or within 60-metre radius, as per the regulations, is notified. Clearly he's aware of it, therefore the notification process has clearly worked for him. The fact we've got something in the order of 11 submissions, and the feedback I've heard today, not just within this room but elsewhere, is that people are aware of it. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Well, that's a matter of merit. That will get assessed by the CAP when the time comes. But as I said, separately, there's the issue of the lease, which may be a decision that occurs before the matter gets to CAP.
If it's the question, just need to seek leave, or is that? Just need to seek leave, so we don't have a motion, or. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can say it. Just a reminder not to say anything which is going to compromise the CAP. But yes, yeah.
I only found out about it late last week. I met with the fellow Saturday morning. He suggested to go around, talk to people, and agreed that Sunday afternoon we would that we'll get together and have a bit of a chat. For this, I've made the decision that I would be declaring a conflict on this item when it comes to CAP. So because I met with Michael that day, that meant that I would therefore have to declare a conflict, which I would do, obviously. We're probably having another meeting next this Sunday if you want to come along, and because people in that area are very, very concerned. And I said I would assist them wherever I could. Because a lot of times people have trouble navigating through the system, and as an elected member, I've said to them, well, I can help you navigate through the system, which is, I think they're appreciative of that.
Thank you, Councillor Koch. Councillor Hennessy.
At the risk of also being out of turn, may I ask a question on notice, please?
Yes.
Thank you. In regard, and
notice,
I acknowledge that I'm 2 weeks behind, having been on some leave, but the Churchill standards that's coming up, and I know we're having a briefing. Unfortunately, I'll not be able to make that night, but I'm very concerned that we somehow communicate with our community that this is happening. I noticed in the email that there is going to be a drop-in session on the 27th of November, which is only a fortnight away. I think we owe it to our community to give them plenty of notice so that we have a good attendance of that. And given how controversial the Churchill situation has been, not only for people on Churchill, but the whole heritage standards, I was wondering whether or not we have some plans to publicise that, please.
Andrew?
Through the chair. So late last week, I think it was on the Thursday in the communique, we provided some information in regards to the engagement process for Church Hill. So it was agreed, well, the engagement process has begun already with Due, which began on Monday this week. So it's been going a couple of days and will go until December. In terms of a timeline for engagement with the community, Due's suggestion was they come to this particular building on the 27th. So I've asked for our comms team to engage with the comms team from Due to make sure there's appropriate collateral that reflects what Due wishes to promote in regards to that. And clearly councils will be encouraged to attend if they wish to, and we certainly want to make it as widely known as we can within Church Hill. In fact, I've even suggested that we would do a mail out, which would have to happen realistically in the next 24 hours pretty much if we're going to get anything out there for the community in Church Hill to be aware of it, but that's certainly what the intention was. And there's also the briefing tomorrow night, which I think you're aware of as well. So.
I think I'm pleased to hear that we're going to try and get something out. I've had at least 3 questions in the last 24 hours. So people are aware that the bongo drums are working, that it's up there on Your Say, and they just want a bit more information. And forgive me, but I don't think Due is the most effective communicator, so I think we need to help somewhat.
Just, yeah. I think there's a this is a conversation we're going to have afterwards. We're in a committee meeting. If someone would like to speak, please put your microphone on. But are there any other questions without notice? All right, thank you. In that case, I'll close the meeting at 9:50. Thank you.